everybody has music that they love. It's jazz. Could be jazz. It could be rap. It could be jam. It could be, blues. And that's what people connect to. At the end of the day, they want to go home and like have a glass of wine and put on their jazz record, and that's what's going to take them out. So it's like music is always healing. It's always therapeutic. It's always, giving people something else to think about, but also it brings people together in so many different ways.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Why Music Matters podcast. I'm your host, music journalist and musician Jeff Myers. Throughout my life in and around music, I've often asked myself the question, why does music matter? This podcast will attempt to answer that question with the help of musicians, members of the music industry, and music lovers like you. Today on Why Music Matters, I'll be speaking with Jennifer Brazill, founder and producer of the Borderland Festival, which celebrates its 5th year at Knox Farm State Park in East Aurora, New York, September 15th through 17th. Jennifer's journey through the world of music has taken her across the country over the last 20 years, and she's worked in the independent record industry, in concert production and promotion, and in artist management, including a stint with the Dave Matthews Band's management team. Jennifer brought all of this experience back home to Western New York when she founded the Borderland Festival in 2018. This year, that festival is presenting its most ambitious lineup to date, with a bill that includes headliners the Trey Anastasio Band, Goose, and Mo, and some 25 other national and regional artists, spread across 3 days and nights in the bucolic setting of Knox Farm State Park. Through it all, Jennifer has been guided by a deep and abiding love for music and a belief in its ability to transform and elevate. Thanks for joining us on Why Music Matters. I'm here with my friend Jennifer Brazill, founder of the Borderland Festival, just an all-around awesome person. Hi, Jen.
Hi, Jeff.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm really happy you're here. I want to talk about a lot of things today, but I wanted to start first off with talking a bit about your history and you had quite a run when you left before you came back to Western New York in a lot of aspects of the music business, artist management, festival production, promotion. And at the core of all this is obviously a deep love for music and a belief in its power to encourage tangible good in the world, right? I'm putting words in your mouth, so correct me if I'm wrong. Can you tell us where this love for music came from and how it developed?
Yeah, it's you forget. I'm excited to actually tell the story because you do forget. You get so immersed in the business side of things in the present that you forget the backstory. So
Yeah.
it's nice to talk about it. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I started really serendipitously. I fell into the music industry scene. I was living out in San Francisco. I had moved out to San Francisco after college from Buffalo and with a bunch of friends, and we just would go to see music all the time. We were always at live shows. I was going to those legendary venues that are in San Francisco,
Yeah.
the Fillmore, the Warfield, I mean, you name it. And I got immersed into the scene out there of just because I went to shows all the time.
Yeah.
And by doing that, I met all the promoters and all the people that ran the venues. And I kind of just got swept up in it. And then all of a sudden I was working in the quote unquote like music industry.
Yeah.
And I didn't even mean to.
That was
So,
never really the plan?
never. No. I was working for nonprofits, and originally I was going to go back to law school, and I had this whole other path. And then because I loved music and I was always out at shows, I just kind of got swept up in it. And 30 years later.
You told me once that the late and legendary Bill Graham, concert promoter,
Yeah.
was, I don't know if you said an inspiration or kind of the guy that kind of wrote the blueprint for this in some ways. And I'm wondering, how do you think, do you remember this, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Well, if I don't remember it, I know I definitely would have said something like that.
So how did Graham help to change concerts from mere entertainment to gatherings that could harness the potential power of like-minded people for something positive? I feel like he something bigger than just entertainment. I feel like it kind of started with him in a lot of
Yeah,
ways.
100%. I mean, that's definitely how I feel. He was the original promoter that brought community together, and he created community, and he made going to shows and venues more than just going to a venue. Like, it was an experience, and you'd go there and you'd meet your tribe, and you'd hang out with the same people, and you knew that the musicians wanted you there, and you all connected in a like symbiotic way. And I think Bill Graham caught on to that early on, and he fed that and he grew that, and he really he curated shows, and he brought bands together and festivals based around community and music community.
That's right. And
Yeah.
I think we're still living within that kind of paradigm that he helped
Yeah,
create.
100%.
At least the best parts of the industry are, right?
I think so, and especially in the more in the jam world
Yeah.
in certain genres, like, absolutely. I think Bill Graham set the groundwork for all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, he had the Grateful Dead,
Yeah.
Jefferson Airplane, I mean, you name it, all those bands.
Santana.
Santana, yeah, and he curated a space for them to have a platform and to grow their fan bases, and he'd bring them all together for shows. So it was yeah.
Yeah, the building of the community and
Yeah,
tribe is
the
a huge.
tribe.
Well, you mentioned the Dead, and I thought we would end up talking
Yeah.
about the Grateful Dead at some point. I mean,
Always.
like Bill Graham, so much of what we now consider the concert and festival, the reality of this came from them, the touring, the taping, the going to multiple shows,
Yeah.
traveling as part of fandom. All of this
Yeah.
came from them. But one thing that I don't know if it gets talked about enough is that in the Grateful Dead orbit and team, there were so many incredibly strong women in major roles. In
Yeah.
that, I thought that was unusual for the time, that you had, from The Office to Betty
Yeah.
at the
Yeah,
board.
the Betty
Those are some
boards.
of the
Yeah.
greatest
Yeah.
recordings ever. I'm wondering if that was an inspiration to you, as a woman going, leading a major festival in a industry that sometimes can be a little bit of a boys' club.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that I feel like, yes, like, the music industry and definitely in the festival promotion side is very male heavy. There's
Mhm.
not a lot of women that are taking the lead on that as promoters of larger festivals. So that's true for sure. And I think I again, like, I kind of just grew into this and I fell into this, and I don't think I was like um completely led by somebody else into this role, because it was kind of accidental.
Yeah. But
But
now if you look back,
but
maybe
now when I look back and I think about it, absolutely, and I feel like that's the one thing that is so I personally love about the Grateful Dead community is it doesn't feel like a lot of barriers. Like, it
right.
was so open and to everybody to have an opportunity and to grow and to be included and have a place in the community, in the community they built, and I think especially women. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I
I
love
mean, they
that.
wrote us, I guess they didn't write the song.
But
They
they made, yeah.
Yes, they
Man smart, woman smarter.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's always been kind of part of the deal,
Always,
you
yeah,
know?
they're huge advocates of women's rights, and
Yeah.
they always pushing for women, and yeah, so 100%, you feel that, and you don't feel that in a lot of places all the time within the music industry.
No, I mean, nothing against, say, Metallica or whatever, but I don't always get that kind of vibe in one of their
Yeah, not
shows,
the
you know
same
what I
vibe,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's
Yeah,
changing, and I hope it is,
yeah.
but yeah, that's always been there, and since we're talking about a lot of your experience has been in roots music, Americana, and jam,
Yeah.
and your experience while you were out there, away from Western New York, and bringing all that back here with you to create Borderland, which is fair to say still centered on that. Would you
Yeah,
say?
yeah. I think especially this year, this is our 5th year, and we've kind of come back. We took a little derailment last year, or not derailment, we expanded a little bit
Yeah,
last year into different genres, and we've come back full circle into pretty heavy jam community, I guess you could call it,
yeah,
roots jam community this year. Yeah.
yes. With the
Yeah, we
three
have
headliners.
yeah, we have
like
Trey Anastasio from Fish, and we have Goose, who's like the next up and coming big jam band,
they're
and
exploding.
yeah, and Mo, which is a big jam band that's been around
Yep,
for
and
and
Buffalo
Buffalo
born.
rooted.
That's right.
Yeah,
Um,
yes.
I'm wondering though, with that kind of music, with such a strong element of improvisation being part of it, um, and really inhabiting the moment, right, in the music itself for the musicians. I feel that that's a huge part of the attraction for fans, obviously, too,
Mhm.
is that it's never the same, right? But also this idea that you're inhabiting the music, inhabiting the moment through the music,
Yeah.
to me is a huge signifier of music's power, right? I'm wondering if you think that this, let's call it jam band for better want of a better word,
Yeah.
it works,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Um, if this community, if this audience is perhaps more open to your one of your core tenets has been sustainability for the
Yeah.
festival.
Mhm.
Do you feel that this audience is maybe more open because the music has trained them to be so to ideas like that you can take with you after the
Yeah,
music's
that's
over?
funny. I was thinking about that on the way here, actually, just thinking about what you said about the topics of the podcast of why music matters. And I
Yeah.
was just kind of thinking about um, one of the things. Actually, I heard this quote last night from Steve Tasker, the ex Buffalo Bills.
Awesome.
I was in an event with him yesterday, and he was giving a speech, and he said, "I was given a platform I was given a big platform, and this is how I'm choosing to use it." And he was representing a certain organization yesterday by saying that, and it really hit me. And I was like, we have a platform, and if you create, if you have with a music festival or any business, really, if you have a certain amount of followers that are pretty dedicated to
Yeah.
you, you have a platform, and you get to choose how you want to use it. And I think within the music industry, we've chosen to focus on environmentalism and sustainability, and really trying to bring that to the forefront, especially in the Buffalo, Western New York area where it
Yeah.
was a little bit behind everywhere else. So we've really tried to use our platform and to involve and include our fan base in the messaging of just how to be more responsible at large events, be plastic free, just focus on the big picture of how to like a little tread lightly while we're here, because
Yeah.
obviously we're on one planet that needs a little bit of love right now. So I think that's a big reason why music matters. And bands do the same thing. And I, like, you asked me before about my journey, and I was kind of raised up under the Dave Matthews Band
Yeah.
camp.
Yeah, talk
um
about that a bit.
yeah, I went to work for Red Light Management, which is a big management
Yep.
company now. At the time, it was still kind of growing, but Dave Matthews Band was our big band, and the team that works for that then and now, it's the same team, is just pretty incredible. And Dave Matthews himself is amazing about just how they're so dedicated to nonprofits, to political causes, and they get out and they walk their walk on every single level. And
Yeah, they're legit.
yeah, so they really use their platform to educate and to engage and to try, get their fans on board with certain messaging. And I learned, that's how I learned, and that's what I saw as mentorship, and that's what I've tried to kind of like carry on and continue to do with my career.
It's
So
huge. And it's funny if you look at the quote jam scene again, Dave Matthews Band, always involved and engaged in issues that matter. Um,
always, yeah,
whatever version of the dead,
yeah, his own version,
is
yeah,
always, Bobby Weir with head count, I mean,
yeah,
um, Fish completely the
yeah,
same.
yeah,
It's funny
huge
how
foundations,
that
yeah.
this community really has, I feel, embraced the idea of music being a vehicle for a positive and real, tangible
Yeah. Yeah,
change.
which is so respectable, because you have that. You have thousands, millions of people that are following you and watching you and listening to you, and to be able to step up and, you know, take a stand on things like that. It's really cool.
Yeah. So it is cool.
Yeah.
Tell us
It's
about
powerful.
it. It's the most powerful thing. It really is. Tell us about, the growth of the physical growth of Borderland and Knox Farm and East Aurora, the immediate community. I mean, this is a Western New York, Buffalo event, which
Yeah, I hope so.
is now starting to bring
Yeah.
people from
Other
far and beyond.
areas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I again, like, I just feel like everything on my path has not been pre-planned.
Yeah.
It's just kind of
Improvised.
unfolded. Yeah,
See?
improvised.
There we go.
Perfect word for it. And I was living on the West Coast, and like I said, after I was working with Dave Matthews Band for a long time, I went and started music festivals on the West
Right.
Coast that were based in Colorado and California.
Right. The
The winter one, it's called
yeah.
Winter Wondergrass.
Yeah,
Yeah, my
Winter
friend and I,
Wondergrass.
Scotty, started that and grew that brand together, and he really taught me a lot along the way as well. But we had outdoor music winter festivals up at these winter ski resorts out in Colorado and California with all bluegrass Americana bands. It was pretty epic. It's still happening. They're still continuing it on, and it was incredible. And I just learned another sense of community again. Like all those events are based around building community, and um, it's it's just been a message that stayed with me throughout everything.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I was like pitched this opportunity to come back to Buffalo and start this festival, and I really never thought it would evolve the way it has.
And quickly.
And quickly,
Yeah.
yeah, and it just so happened to land at this 600-acre park called Knox Farm State Park, and it happens to be in the hometown I grew up in.
Yeah.
So that was really serendipitous. Again, I didn't mean for that to be the case. It just happened to be the perfect venue, perfect backdrop, perfect space, and it's a state park. Again, I wasn't expecting them to say yes to this idea. Like, can we bring multiple thousands of people onto your park and throw a big party?
Yeah.
And they're like, sure, let's do it. So we just did it. And the first year it was a little challenging. You're starting a new brand. You have to introduce it to people. We're in the Buffalo region too. I mean, that it's used to what it knows.
Yeah.
So when you introduce new ideas here, it takes a minute for people to catch on and understand exactly what we were doing. And there really was no multi-day festivals like this existing here yet.
Right.
So people didn't totally understand what we were unless they had come and experienced it. So we were teaching and we were educating. And so it took a little minute. Like the first year and a half and 2 years were super challenging.
Yeah.
But it caught on pretty quickly, and then we were really flying in our second year, and then the pandemic came. We were heading into year 3 like, yes, we did it,
Woo.
and then wiped out. But then everybody was affected by that.
Yeah, of course. And all people, but the music industry took a serious hit.
Music industry took a hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, knocked down.
Yeah.
But we got through it, and then we came back. And so we've had 2 festivals since then. The first festival after the pandemic was, again, pretty challenging because we were still coming out of COVID. People were creeping back out.
Yeah,
And
it was still
there
scary,
were still restrictions.
Sure.
Yeah, so
and their responsibility, which is something
again,
you talk about.
yeah.
You had a responsibility to do it
Yep.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a lot of responsibility. And that's just another thing about owning events like that and festivals is you bring on a lot of risk and responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to, and I think too, that's why I really focus on the community element of what you're saying, is because when you bring in a certain community and the type of people that are coming to your events, you know how to talk to them.
Right.
And you know how they're going to act and respond. And they're going to come, and for me, they're going to come onto this park and be super respectful of the property and the community. And so that's why it's fun for me to curate in this genre, because I know the base. I am the base.
Right. Right.
So I know how to communicate with them.
Right, because you curated Borderland based on what you would want, right? If you were going to a festival.
Total selfish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, this is what I would want to do.
I mean, the great
pretty
artists often
much.
say, well,
Yeah.
musicians would say, I just made the music that I wanted to hear.
Yeah. Right.
And
It's
that
true.
and maybe it's selfish, but it's the right way to do it,
It's
I think, because you are the target market.
know it. You know
Right.
it. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I definitely especially this year, these are my favorite bands, and
Yeah.
I am super excited
I would love
about.
listeners to understand the arc of this, that this year um is the biggest really in terms of the artist you got, because these are,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
this is top of the heap stuff.
It's fun. Yeah, like, I guess if you so, like and you know this, it's like you never wanna say, like, one artist is bigger than another,
No.
but it's like
No, they're all awesome.
yeah, yeah, they're
Yeah.
all and we've been lucky, we've had, like, 10, 15 Grammy winners come across our roster, and we had Mavis Staples, Jason Isbell, who's won multiple Grammys, but, in terms of ticket sales and
Yeah.
sizes of, like, the venues and fan bases that these bands are bringing, yeah, this
Right.
is our biggest,
You're,
for sure.
yeah. I mean, we're tapping into something incredibly powerful, and then
Yeah.
you know, stacked within the Borderland lineup is a commitment to, you know, homegrown music as well. I hate calling it local because it seems to somehow be
Yeah.
pejorative. Like,
Yeah, what's a better word for that? I know, I was thinking about that too.
I don't know, homegrown seems a little. It's you know, music that came from here,
Right?
from
Regional, regional.
regional is better because the you know, we know the talent level in Buffalo is incredibly high.
Amazing.
Um,
Yeah.
but to give those regional artists an opportunity to, you know, share stages with a Trey Anastasio, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, we
O'Teal
try
and
to
all these
do
people
that.
over the
Yeah.
years,
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
hard because you have a limited amount of time slots on your
Right,
lineups, and the thing with the major festivals or bigger national festivals is you have to have the bigger bands to sell the tickets or the
right,
people aren't gonna come that
right.
the thousands of people that you need to show up, you have to have those big names, and then that just leaves a little bit of it leaves less slots to give to the local bands.
You know, there are days that feel like, you know, glorious, right, in this industry, and there are others that are these are the time that tries people's souls, right? I mean,
Yeah.
incredibly difficult. Um, but I'm wondering, you know, I'm you could have chosen a different path, you know, you still could. I mean,
Yeah.
we all can, right? We can reinvent ourselves, but so why do this? I mean,
Right. Right.
why do it?
Yeah. I think about that a lot, especially lately. You're like we kind of touched on earlier, especially being a woman in this industry, I feel like, and I hate to say, I don't want to say like I'm presented with more challenges because of that, because I don't know anyone else's journey. I just know mine.
Well,
But
they're
it does
different challenges, right?
yeah,
I mean,
different challenges. Yeah. And so there's a lot of times where I'm like, I get like kind of like, and again, we said it's high risk. There's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of work. It's so many logistics. It's like, and will the people gonna come? And you get, you go up against so many things like ticket prices. You
right.
put that up online and like people yell at you because the price is too high. But you're like, well, we can't pay our bills if the ticket price is not at this level. So there's so many things that you feel like you're constantly trying to explain to people.
Mhm.
And just the way that social media is right now, it's it's easy. People have an easy platform to tell you what you're doing wrong. So you
Right.
don't always hear a lot of what you're doing right. And that can get really discouraging. So I have had a lot, especially lately, I've had a lot of thoughts like, okay, why am I even doing this
Yeah.
again? But then it comes back around to the days that I get to just focus on the lineup and the bands and remind myself of like who's coming and what the experience is. And when the music's playing is when I get back in and inspired in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the music,
Yeah.
you know,
The
it's the
music, it
guy.
comes back to the music.
I
Yeah.
remember last year's Borderland, a band that I dearly love and was so grateful to you for booking, the Flaming Lips,
Yeah.
and I remember while they were playing, I saw you, you know, down near the front, and I could tell, I'm like, "Oh, there's the music fan."
Yeah.
You know, this
Yeah.
that's the reason you do this because you just looked lost in that. Every concert
Yeah.
to me, a great concert is always that moment of, like, just a feeling of transcendent joy and connectedness, you know,
Yeah.
and you always want to take that with you when you leave, but every show you're looking for that, you know, or
Yeah.
waiting for
It's
it to
like it's a
happen.
therapy. It's like going into a place of
It
meditation.
really
Yeah.
is, and
Yeah.
and then if you look around and you see other people sharing this, then you feel the power
Yeah. The
that this
connection.
has.
Yeah.
Connection, and connection can lead to change and, you know, and positive growth. But it was really cool
100%.
to see you at your
Yeah.
festival after all that work when you're like, "Oh, you've gotta be wiped out." I looked over and you
I'm
were
sure I
feeling that
had a
joy.
cocktail in my
It
hand at
might have,
that
yeah,
point.
yeah. But that,
Yeah.
that's why we're here,
Yeah.
right? We
Yeah.
live for those moments.
I feel like, and I I say this, like, I feel like that's what separates or is different between independent promoters versus, like, the bigger promoters, like, sure, I'll reference Live Nation,
Sure.
but there's a lot of more corporate business involved with those types of events versus, like, the independent promoters who are super truly in it for the music,
And
so it creates a vibe.
we know
Yeah.
people like that around here, in
Yeah.
Western New York,
Yeah.
and they would be living a life in music in some fashion anyway.
For sure.
And that
Yeah.
is different
Yeah.
than, I can't speak for all of Live Nation because there very
Yeah.
well could be people in that
Yeah.
corporation who
Yeah.
love music.
Definitely.
Um,
It
but
just
there
has a
is,
little more corporate vibes,
yeah,
which then creates these events that have a more corporate vibe versus, like, independent promoters who are truly in it for the passion of the music. Because you have to be, otherwise you will not do it because you'll be beating your head up against the wall every day. Like, "What am I doing right now?" But you have to love the music,
you
so
do. And the last question I want to ask you, Jen, um, with so often when you work in or on music all the time, maybe some of the joy of and the magic of it can be diminished. Um, do you still find yourself when you're not working, like, I know you travel and go see shows, right?
Yeah.
In your off time.
Yeah.
You find that it's, even though you're in the business, do you find that music still has magic for you?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, I guess like a good example of that would be just a couple weeks ago. I'm a big dorky fish fan of the band Fish. And I
Yes.
went out to LA to the Hollywood Bowl last month and went to 3 nights in a row of Fish at Hollywood
Those are
Bowl.
great shows.
They were amazing shows. And that's where I got really inspired and refueled and re-energized because all of my friends in the industry were there. My friends, my peers, like
Yeah.
they're all this like they were all at those Fish shows too. They had come from all over and they were all there. And these are all people that promote major festivals or major venues around the country or manage major bands and they all they all came out for these shows because they all love the music just as much. So it was really a good reminder for me to see all that again. And that's my community and
That's
that's
right. Your
why
tribe.
we're all in
That's your
it. That was
tribe.
my
Yeah.
tribe. Yeah, yeah. And it does sometimes, I think like any industry and it's been a real learning curve for me being back in Buffalo because it's where I was born and raised, but it's also a small city
Hmm.
compared to LA or San Francisco. And so there's different dynamics and you have to navigate in different ways and getting out of here sometimes just to remind yourself of the bigger picture and the bigger vision is really good for the
To remind yourself,
inspiration.
yeah, the
Yeah.
inspiration. Like,
Yeah.
oh, so this is why we're here.
Yeah. Yeah. And then hopefully bring it back and like do better.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Um, Last question.
Yeah.
We're in an interesting and difficult place as a culture, in a country. Um, that local communities feel that, the broader communities, the entire country feels this. Do you feel that music can help guide us towards some kind of resolution, or at least bring us uh, more directly in touch with our better selves?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I feel like it has the best platform to be able to do it. Because you think about it, like everybody has music that they love. It's jazz. Could be jazz. It could be rap. It could be jam. It could be, blues.
Yeah,
And that's what people connect to. At the end of the day, they want to go home and like have a glass of wine and put on their jazz record, and that's
yeah,
what's going to take them out. So it's like music is always healing. It's always therapeutic. It's always, giving people something else to think about, but also it brings people together in so many different ways. And it can like think about my if I had a dream idea, I would love to be a part of something like a Live Aid
yeah,
or even what just happened with like the Foo
yeah.
Fighters
With Taylor.
Yeah, with Taylor tribute.
Hawkins, yeah.
And just the energy around that. They had the Taylor Hawkins tribute in Wimbledon.
Everyone was moved. I mean, it was impossible not to be moved.
It was yes, and it was global, and it was massive, and it was just reminded you of like that kinetic energy that's created at these shows with all these people that are there together because they love Freddie Mercury so much.
Right.
And they're all singing in unison to Queen,
Yeah.
and you're just like, whoa, this is crazy.
There's power there that can
huge.
Can
yeah, like if you could bottle Wimbledon after that, you're like, you would be able to like cure climate change. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
it's
awesome.
it's powerful. Think about too, like, I haven't bought into the Taylor Swift phenomenon yet, but it's like, it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
like,
we were discussing that article that, where was it, the New York Times, where it said Taylor Swift is the new Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
And I might have a few points to quibble on with that, but the general idea was that a community united around an artist and their work, right?
Yeah.
That's the general idea. This is still an incredibly powerful thing, and it's not just
huge.
You know, every generation now has it.
Yeah, they do. And like you think about like all those people that been, go crazy to get to these Taylor Swift shows, and that experience when they're there, what they're capturing all together, and they're there with like 150,000 other people that feel the exact same way they do. I mean, that's a huge bond.
Yeah, it never gets old, does it?
Yeah, no,
it never gets old.
You walk out of there on such a high,
yeah,
and it stays with you for days after.
That's the goal.
And yeah, I mean, I think that's why people keep going on tours. That's definitely why to go back to the Grateful Dead, people would travel around with them because you never wanted to lose that feeling.
No. Yeah, that feeling of connection. And positivity.
Yeah.
Well, I hope we all, we're going to leave Borderland later in September with that same feeling, and we can take it off into our communities and try to channel it into something.
I hope so.
Good.
Yeah, that's definitely the message we try to put out. And I think I said this to you the other day, and how I hope that we can all learn to elevate each other. Like, there's no reason to compete or have different, like, everybody can come together. Everyone can elevate each other. Everyone can work together, so everybody can be successful to create amazing opportunities to have this connection and have platforms for artists to give back. Like, it's a symbiotic relationship between the fans and the artists. So if we can all come together to create these platforms that we can bring these artists to, then it's a win. It's a win-win. I don't know if I explained that right.
You did. Well, I think a rising tide.
I was getting caught in my head of
saves
trying
all
to
ships.
save it. Yeah. Bring everybody up together and put out positive messaging, and it just can only be a win-win.
Thank you so much, Jennifer Brazill.
Thank you so much.
Founder and president of Borderland, is that
president of the world.
President of the world. All right.
No, I'm just kidding.
I expect some good things to happen now.
Founder and owner.
Of the Borderland Festival, Rail Rider Jamboree.
And
just an all-around great person.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
Glad to call you my friend, and thank you for being on Why Music Matters with Jeff Myers.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.